Hello everyone, welcome to today's class, and our title today is called Banmal Payback. Let's move on to language focus. 1번. Those of us who have been studying Korean a bit longer just smile and say nothing because we don't want to ruin their honeymoon phase. Those of us is what we'll concentrate for number 1. Okay, we use those of us to refer to specific subset of your own peer group. Peer, people of similar age or let's say like a similar job, similar field. That's what peer means. Sometimes it can imply that the speaker is a member of that subset. Those of us who are old enough to remember the 1980s. This is important. Those of us who are old enough to remember the 1980s. 1980년대를 기억할 만큼 나이가 많은 많은 우리들은. So basically anyone over the age of 40 are people who would remember the 1980s quite well. I was born in the 80s, but I don't really remember anything from the 80s. So people who are older than me, they would remember the 80s. Those people. So in this situation, people most likely over the age of 45-ish. So have seen a lot of changes in the world. So 1980 or 1980년대를 기억할 만큼 나이가 많은 우리들은 세상의 많은 변화를 보았다. Okay? With the invention of mobile phones, with the invention of internet, with the invention of self-driving cars, electric cars, etc., they've seen a lot of changes in the world. Like those who are old enough to, have been born. Sorry, those who are old enough to remember the 1950s have seen more. 40s, even more. But those people would almost be 100, actually. So, if we look at the next example, it might give you an idea of what we're talking about. Those of us who weren't invited to the party. So, people who weren't invited to the party. People not invited to the party. So those of us born who are old enough to remember the 1980s, how can I translate this? People over the age of, example, like let's just say 40. It could be older than that. It could be also younger than that. That's what I mean. So let's concentrate just on this one. Those of us who weren't invited to the party wonder why we were left out. 파티에 초대받지 못한 사람들은 왜 우리가 소외되었는지 궁금해한다. Alright? So that's what we mean. Those of us who weren't invited to the party. Those of us who are old enough to remember the 1980s. Those of us who lived through COVID understand how difficult it was. Okay. 2번. Korean is one of those languages where the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. So use the more to indicate proportional relationship between actions. So it's the way I would explain it in Korean is 뭐뭐 할수록 등등등 더 뭐. So the more I swim, the more I enjoy it. 나는 수영을 하면 할수록 더 재미있어요. Very simple, this one. The more I think about what I did, the more I regret it. 내가 한 일을 생각할수록 후회가 된다. The more I practice, the more I know. So 연습할수록 더 알아요. So, yes, using the more who thinks about something, does something, etc., the more. All right, now let's move on to the language focus quiz. 1번. Those of us who know think that. Remember those of us? Talking about a group of people. Grew up in the 90s. Think that people born in the people born in the 2000s are stupid. I don't know. This is just an example. It doesn't mean it's true. 90년대에 자란 사람들은 2000년대에 태어난 사람들이 멍청하다고 생각한다. I don't know. There's a difference between 90s and 2000s people. Okay. 2번. Those who don't should. Those of us who don't. Again, an example. Brush their teeth regularly. Should go to the dentist more. So, example, 정기적으로 일을 양치질 하지 않는 사람들은 치과에 더 가야 해요. Okay, 3번. The more. Okay. So the more you know about, the more you will learn. The more you know about history, the more you will want to learn. I like learning about history. 여러분이 역사에 대해 더 많이 알수록 더 많이 배우고 싶어질 것입니다. I love learning about history. All right. The more I think about, the more I wish. So the more I think about the future, the more I wish I made better decisions in the past. 미래에 대해 생각할수록 과거에 더 나은 결정을 내렸으면 좋겠다. Alright, now let's move on to the further discussion. 1번. Do you think it is okay for people to use banmal with service workers? Why or why not? 사람들이 서비스 근로자들과 함께 반말을 사용하는 것이 괜찮다고 생각하세요? Why or why not? No, I don't think it's right. In the culture of Korea, we understand that 반말 is used only with friends and family or close people, right? When using 반말 with a stranger, it's considered very rude. So it's just the same as if I was speaking rude to a service worker in English. So it shows like a lack of respect towards somebody. And obviously you see it a lot. Stupid people who think they are better than anyone else, when in reality they're not better than anyone else, regardless of their social status, their money, or whatever. People who use 반말 as a way to make themselves feel better. But in reality, those people are massive losers. That's the reality of it. People who speak to other people in a way that is demoralizing or disrespectful, those people, trust me, they'll get their day. What goes around comes around. So yes, even I think it's not acceptable. If a speaker is much older than the person they are talking to, do you think it is okay for them to use 반말 without getting permission first? So 만약에 말하는 사람보다 훨씬 나이가 많다면 당신은 그들이 먼저 허락을 받지 않고 진부한 반말을 사용하는 것이 괜찮다고 생각하세요. Not growing up in this country, from when I was young, I can't really have a passionate say in this. However, I do think that you should always try and be as kind to someone as much as possible. But I do know certain people who are much older than you, they will always look down to people younger than them. But that's just the culture that they grew up in. It was probably a lot worse when they were younger. And so they've carried over what they learned from when they were younger to now when they're older. Do I think it's okay? I personally just think everyone should try and talk to each other in a nice way. Anyway, that wraps it up for today, and we'll see you on the next class.
Cognate.
Cognate.
Honeymoon phase.
Honeymoon phase.
Pop out.
Pop out.
Abrasive.
Abrasive.
Humiliating.
Humiliating.
Rub it in.
Rub it in.